You know, some wines are just legendary, but sometimes the person behind the wine, well, they're the real legend. Today, we're going to talk about Renato Ratti, an absolute visionary who took one of Italy's most famous wines, Barolo, and pretty much redesigned it from the ground up. And believe me, that is not an exaggeration. Before Ratti came along, Barolo was a completely different beast. To really wrap our heads around what he accomplished, we first have to understand the world he was stepping into.
All right, to get a handle on Ratti's revolution, let's hop in a time machine. We're going back to the mid-20th century in Piedmont, Italy, to meet the original, very formidable, austere king of wines.
So Barolo had this huge reputation, no doubt. They called it the wine of kings and the king of wines. But man, it was a tough wine to get to know. See, it's made from the Nebbiolo grape, and these wines were packed with tannins. That's the stuff that gives you that drying sensation in your mouth, and tons of acid. You often had to cellar them for 10, 20, sometimes even 30 years just to let those harsh edges soften up. They were powerful for sure, but really rustic and pretty unforgiving when they were young.
This right here, this really gets to the heart of what Ratti was seeing. The traditional way involved these super long macerations, where the juice would sit on the grape skins for weeks and weeks. That's where all those aggressive tannins came from. Ratti's vision, though, was for a wine that wasn't about brute force, but about elegance. He dreamed of a Barolo that could still age beautifully, but was also approachable and expressive much, much earlier in its life.
So where did this crazy idea even come from? Well, Ratti's genius wasn't just raw passion. It was this really unique mix of being deeply connected to his homeland and having a surprisingly modern scientific education.
I mean, Ratti was a son of Piedmont through and through, born right in the middle of wine country. But here's the thing that set him apart. Unlike so many producers of his time who just learned from tradition, he went out and got formal training. He enrolled at the University of Alba to study enology, the actual science of winemaking. And that right there was a total game changer.
And this is the absolute key. Ratti had this deep, passionate love for the Nebbiolo grape, but his education gave him the technical know-how to ask why. Why were things done a certain way? He could actually analyze tannins, understand the chemistry of fermentation, and think critically about how to get that elegance he was searching for. So, armed with this 1-2 punch of passion and science, Ratti has back to Piedmont ready to kick off a quiet revolution. You know, it really boils down to a few brilliant, connected changes that started out in the vineyard and followed the grapes all the way into the cellar. Let's break this down, because it's really cool. First, he was adamant that great wine begins in the vineyard. He focused on getting lower yields, which means higher quality grapes. Second, in the cellar, he slashed those long maceration times to get softer, more refined tannins. Third, he brought in modern tech, like temperature control, to keep all those delicate aromas intact. And finally, and this was huge, he championed the idea of bottling wines from single vineyards, or, as they're called, crus.
Yeah, before Ratti, most Barolo was just a blend from a bunch of different vineyards all mixed together. Ratti was one of the very first to stand up and say, hey, wait a minute, these specific spots, they have their own personalities. He believed a wine should taste like where it comes from. It's terroir, that special mix of soil, climate, and location that makes a place unique.
And in his hunt for the perfect place to prove his philosophy, he found an absolute jewel. Marsanasco, a historic vineyard in the commune of La Mora. This was going to be the canvas for his masterpiece.
So why Marsanasco? What made this spot so perfect for his vision? Well, a few key things. First, its location in La Mora is already known for a more fragrant, elegant style of Barolo. Then you've got this incredible limestone-rich soil, perfect sun exposure on the slopes, and cool nights because of the altitude. It all just came together to create grapes with this natural elegance and aromatic complexity, exactly what Ratti was trying to capture in the bottle.
And the first Barolo Marsanasco, it was a total revelation. It was 100% Barolo, no question about it, but it was different. It had grace, beautiful aromatics, silky tannins. It proved that the king of wines didn't have to be a tyrant. It could be a poet.
But Ratti's work didn't just stop with his own wines. His success created this amazing ripple effect that ended up changing the entire region.
He became one of the leading voices for the whole area, traveling and tirelessly promoting Barolo on the world stage. But honestly, his most lasting contributions were probably the ideas he left behind for everyone else.
His impact was just immense.
I mean, Ratti literally put Barolo on the map by creating one of the very first detailed maps of the region's crus. His success inspired a whole new generation of winemakers to rethink tradition, a movement that would eventually include the famous Barolo boys. He helped turn Barolo from a regional favorite into the global luxury icon it is today. And that amazing legacy? It's totally secure, carried on with so much passion by his son Pietro.
You know, the story of Renato Ratti is this powerful reminder that tradition isn't about being frozen in the past. It's about understanding the heart of something so deeply that you know how to guide it toward an even more brilliant future. He didn't break Barolo, he just showed everyone the elegance that was hiding inside it all along.